14th March, 4th Sunday, Grace 26. Heart, the best view of God. Dear friends in Christ Jesus, in both the Old Testament and New Testaments, the word heart refers to the center of an individual's mental, emotional, and spiritual life. Put another way, the heart is the innermost part of a man. The heart reflects the real person. Heart and mind are connected. Heart knows what is good and bad. Heart can understand, reflect, and remember. Heart and emotions are connected. The heart is the seat of joy, courage, pain, anxiety, despair, sorrow, and fear. Heart and our spiritual life are also connected. God tries the heart, sees the heart, refines the heart, and searches the heart. The scriptures make it clear that a person may have an evil heart, may be godless in heart, may be perverse and deceitful in heart, and he can harden his heart. However, a person may also have a clean heart and a new heart. Today, we just try to answer these two questions in our reflection. What was David's view of God, and what was God's view of David? Firstly, what was David's view of God? The Psalms give us a unique and rich source to answer these questions. God is the omnipotent creator. David viewed God as all-powerful. Several of David's Psalms focus extensively on God's creative power. David often talks about the splendor, beauty, and mysteries of nature. David's view of God's creative power in nature often generated praise, thanksgiving, and worship in his heart. Secondly, the omniscient God. David also viewed God as all-knowing. He recognized that God knew everything about him, every detail of his heart and his actions at any given moment. Thirdly, the omnipresent God. David not only viewed God as omnipotent and omniscient, as present everywhere. In other words, there was no place David could go, but that God was there to guide, to protect, to comfort, and to search out his heart. And finally, the God of loving concern. Seeing God's power in nature led David to appreciate more fully God's loving concern for mankind. The fact that the Lord gave human beings a certain degree of authority and control over his natural creation overwhelmed David. The second question, what was God's view of David? When the Lord looked beyond this young man's outward appearance and looked at his heart, what did he see? Again, the Psalms gives us a significant profile on David's inner qualities. Firstly, a believing heart. When God looked at David's heart, he saw a heart that believed in his existence. So convinced was David of this existence that he wrote, "The fool has said in his heart, there is no God." When God looked at David's heart, the day he was chosen to be the king, he saw a heart that believed in his existence. To David, any man who denied the existence of God was a fool. Secondly, a thankful heart. God always saw a thankful heart, a heart that was totally overwhelmed with God's love and provisions. This reflected in number of psalms David wrote. Thirdly, an open heart. David knew God was omniscient. He did not try to hide from God. His heart was open and transparent. And finally, a repentant heart. When David sinned against God, he demonstrated a truly repentant heart. David sought forgiveness because he had failed the God he loved. Thus, in Psalm 51, he prayed, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me." Yes, dear friends in Christ Jesus, David was not a perfect man, but he had a proper view of God, which affected his own heart and caused him to be a person God could use. In spite of his human weaknesses, what about you? What is your view of God, and what is his view of you? Heart, the best view of God is the grace that we have for today. Man sees through mind, but God sees through heart. God looks into our heart and cleanses from all iniquities. Thus, we may fill our hearts with love, mercy, and tenderness. Action of the day: let's allow God to cleanse our heart. If God can work through me, He can work through anyone, says St. Francis of Assisi. Have a graceful day, dear friends.